Hey there, this video is to show you how to integrate the Snap-in Smart Select Box. The demo project comes with a third-person example. I'm going to integrate it with the first-person example for this video just to show it in a different project. So the first thing we're going to do is just migrate the Select Box portion over to our first-person project. This is a fresh template straight out of the Epic templates there. If I hit play. So this would be the project that you'd get from the launcher there. So I go to the Snap-in components and we want the Smart Select Box. And just click on Migrate. Then you just want to migrate that to your content folder. And you just want to migrate that to the content folder of the project. And once that's done, it says it's completed successfully, we can actually just close the example project. We don't need that anymore. And now you can see in my first person project here I have the Snap-in folder. So there are a couple components that we have to integrate here to make this work in our new project. If we go into the blueprint section here, there's actually under version help, there's some quick instructions on how to integrate it. If you get stuck or you want to just quickly do it yourself and you're pretty familiar with the engine, you can do that. And you can also see the version that you're currently on right here. Okay, but if we go up to the blueprints in the core folder, these are the two main components. So the select box is the actual select box that you would put on your player to enable the functionality for them. And the selectable actor is what you would put on any actor that you want the select box to be able to pick up. The only additional thing that we have to add is the HUD component, and the reason we do that is to draw the actual box on the screen. There's no way of really doing that from any of the standard actors. It always complains and says it must be done from the HUD. Because of that reason, I've included a HUD here. So there's a chance that you might already have your own HUD and you might already have code in there or something custom in your HUD already. And if that's the case, you can still use that. What you'd want to do is go to File up here and then just reparent, and then you would just choose your custom HUD, whatever HUD you're already using. What happens is this HUD here, the one that's coming from the select box, would become a child of the one you're already using. Okay, and then what you would do is you would go into your game settings here under project settings. You go to maps and modes, and under your HUD class, you'd want to choose the select box. Okay, so you can see there's already a first person HUD here, so there's already one that's created for this template. So we can see that's right here. And the reason that's created is obviously just to give us that little crosshair in the center of the screen. So in this particular case, we don't want to lose that. So what we're going to do is exactly what I just showed. Is we're going to reparent this to the first person HUD. Okay, and now this is a child of the first person HUD. Now if you don't have a custom HUD already and you're brand new project or you've never bothered to edit the HUD in any way, then that's fine. All you would do is these two steps here. Basically just do exactly what we just did, which was in the HUD class, just set the select box HUD as your HUD. And just, you don't need to parent it to anything. And you can still make any additions you want to the first person HUD because it's the parent, so it'll be inherited by the select box anyways. And it's just a brief explanation as to why the HUD is needed there. Okay, so that's done. So we want to minimize this. We'll go back into our blueprints. Okay, and we have our select box child actor. This is the one that we want to add to our character. So in this particular case, we want to find our first person character and open that up. And what we want to do is we want to add the select box component either to the mesh if there is a mesh, or if your game doesn't have a mesh, like it's a floating pond or something like that, and you don't have a mesh, you just have a camera view, then add it under the camera. In this case we have a mesh, so we're going to add it to that. Add child actor, or you can actually just drag it right in there. And over here on the right is where the variables you can edit are. And you can see you can edit the colors of the box if you want, and there's some various settings here to customize the behavior of it, and we'll go through these a little bit later. Right now we're just going to implement the system. So once that's added, just save and compile this, and we should actually be ready to try it out. So you can see on the left we have the different types of selectables that the system ships with. Obviously those are customizable, that's just what's currently in the enum. And if I press middle mouse button, I can actually draw my select box already. And I also have that bound to tab twice, so if you tap tab twice, it goes away, comes back. That's it for getting it onto the player. Now the problem is we don't have anything to select, because we haven't added the selectable to anything yet. Yes, that's the part we're going to do next. Okay, so how do we add it to other actors to make them selectable? Well, first of all, we need to have an actor. Okay, these are static meshes, so we can't do it on those because those aren't actors. So what we'll do is we'll just create selectable. Selectables. Obviously, the system assumes that you already have actors that you want to select, either units in a game where you want to control the units, or items that you want to be able to select a bunch of and pick up, destroy, move around, do whatever you want to. So in this particular case, because it's a fresh project, there's no actors that we can use. So what I'm going to do is just create one. So I'm just going to go new actor, Flakios, because that's what I already have. And we'll put a cube. It does look like a box of cereal or something. Maybe a giant box of cereal. Okay, you can use static meshes, skeletal meshes, doesn't matter. I'm just going to import a new material here just to make it easier to see in the demo here. There we go. So there's our boxed Flakios. Okay, save that. I'm just going to add one of these to our level to see how big it is. That's pretty good. If I hit play, we can see it. Can't do anything with it. Okay, so it's not selectable, but we just created a new actor. So to make it selectable, what we want to do, we go to our snap-in components under blueprints. And this time we want to go under core, and we want to choose the selectable actor. Okay, again, we can just drag that, we'll put that under the mesh. Okay, and then on the right here, under the edit these, we have only one parameter that we have to actually edit. That's basically just choosing what it is in this list. So I'm going to choose Flakios. Okay, but then the question becomes, well, how do we define the parameters for the Flakios? And that's really simple. We go back to our list here and we go under structs and data, under our data tables. So this is our selectables. And we can see here we have Flakios. And here we can choose the icon that we want, or you can specify one. You can type in a custom name, so if I don't want it to be called Flakios, by default it'll take whatever the enum's called here. Type cereal if you want. If you leave it blank, it'll just take this name here. One important thing though is that these drop downs here in this enum have to match what this row name is here exactly. It's just in order for you to be able to select it from this list, it has to match this exactly. So just make sure that if you add new ones, wherever you call it, like if you just hit plus here, because you want to add a new item, grenades, then you have to make sure something in here is called grenades. Otherwise it won't be selectable. You can delete these if you want and start all your own, but this is where you create and add, remove, or modify the parameters of any item. And we'll go through what these variables all do later in the video, but for now we're just adding it to the system. So we have an entry for Flakios there. We've chosen Flakios from the list. So let's hit play and let's see what happens here. And you can see, there you go, it's selectable. And you can see that it's selected because the indicator's on top. So if I click off it, it's unselected. If I click it again, selected, I can highlight it or I can click on it. And you can see on the left, there's one Flakios selected, and I have one actor of my total that I'm allowed to have here. If I wanted to just unselect that one, I can actually just click the little icon there too. And it's as simple as that. Now if I duplicate it, you can see it counting up on the left there as well. And it's real time. And if I let go, there's only one action that we can do, and that's destroy. And that's also configurable in the data table there. And for these particular actors, they have an interface that would work with that, but right now it's not set up. So that's the next portion that we're going to do. Okay, but that's the entirety of adding the system to your existing project. Okay, so now that we've added the system to our player and you can select things, we've added the system to our 3 cereal boxes here called Flakios, and they are now selectable. What we can't do though is take any actions on them. The actions are showing up, but we can't actually do them. They're not doing anything. The reason the actions are showing up though is because in our data table for the selectable types, we have this array here called compatible common actions. And if we look at our Flakios, the only action we have in the list is destroy, and that's why that's the only one that's showing up. Okay, and that's why it's automatically populating that list at the top there, so we don't have to do anything with the UI. It automatically populates all of that. So depending on whatever you have here, those will automatically get populated at the top. So you can see for the worker, it's got a whole bunch of more actions than the cereal box, obviously, because the worker can move around and do other things. However, this will just populate the UI. It won't actually do the action, so we actually have to tell the system that when you press that button, do the thing. And how do we do that? Well, that's the final piece that we have to integrate, and that's under our blueprints again, under interface. So this is our common actions interface. So anytime you add a new action, you're going to want to add it to this common actions list here, as well as update the enum to have the action as well. So destroy, attack, patrol. Okay, so the action that we wanted to create for our box of cereal is destroy, right? So the actor to destroy, and it's a pretty simple one, just destroy self. So the way that we add that is we go to our actor, up here under class settings, under interfaces, implemented interfaces, click on add. And we're going to type in snap in SelectBox common actions, this one right here. Click on that, compile. And now you can either do this wherever you want. You can do it in the event graph. If you want, you can create a separate. Now if I right click and type event destroy, you can see right here it says event snap in cell box destroy F. That's the one we want. That's the function that we want there. So we're going to grab that. And now what do we want it to do when we hit that button? Well, in this case, very simple. We just want to destroy actor. You can add other things here if you want. You can spawn emitter at location, so you can have explosion happen. I don't think there's any emitters by default. I didn't add any starter content to this, so but you can do whatever you want here. We'll go a lot of print string as well. Okay, and that is it for adding the action. So because it already has that destroy action, it should just work out of the box. No pun intended. There you go, done. And you can do multiple at the same time because they share the same action. Done. That is how you link an action to the UI button. So the way we did that again was we had to add the interface to our actor, the SelectBox interface. Make sure the action exists in the interface. And then in the actual actor itself, call the action that we added to the interface. So in this case it was snap in cell box destroy. Snap in cell box destroy. Okay, and then in your data table, under the selectable defaults, make sure that the item type that you've selected, which is the flakios in this case, is able to do that action, and that action here is destroy. Okay, and these compatible common actions, these are just any num that you can update. Okay, so we have like move to location, move to unit, follow unit, destroy, attack, patrol. So you can add whatever you want here. You can just add new ones as often as you want. You can remove ones you don't want, etc. Okay, so that's the entirety of the integration. The next part would be how do we actually carry out the destroy action, right? Because we have every piece except for the fact that when I click that button, something has to call the interface, and I haven't shown you where that is yet. And that's the part we're going to do next, is actually calling the action. Okay, so to add a new action, make it available so you can select it from the list here and you can carry it out on any of your selectable actors. What you want to do is first decide on what action you want to take. So right now we have move to location, move to unit, follow unit, destroy, attack, and patrol radius. So let's say we wanted to add a new action, and let's say that action was launch character. Just something quick and easy, so we'll call it. Okay, and whatever you name this here has to match the data table row name as well. So let's launch with an exclamation mark. So let's just copy that. Go to your data table, and under here under action buttons, we need to create a new action button because right now we don't have one for launch. We only have one for destroy, attack, follow, and patrol. Okay, so we're going to create a new one, a new row, and this row needs to match that name. So launch with an exclamation mark. This we already added it to our enum. It's going to be right there. We choose that. Okay, so because this isn't a second click type of action, so basically if you were to follow another unit, you would click on the actor, you would say follow unit, and then you'd click on the unit you want it to follow. That's a two-step action. Because when we click on a unit and we hit launch, we want it to just launch that actor. So there's not going to be a second step. Okay, so we're not telling him to move to a vector, we're not telling him to follow an actor, we're saying just launch yourself. Some built-in sound effects you can use if you want, like do action, press action button. You don't have to use, obviously you can use whatever you want. There's some built-in icons here as well. The PSD files to create the icons of the right sizes are available in the Discord channel if you want to download them. They don't ship the project anymore, they remove that, so if you want to download them, you feel free to join the Discord channel and just download the PSD files. So I'm just going to make it the car icon just for fun. Okay, and then you can customize the color of the buttons if you want, so we'll save that. Okay, so far we've gone into our enums under actions, and we've added a new action. And then we've gone into our data tables, and we've gone into the action buttons. So these are the actions that appear on the top when you highlight any selectable actor and if that actor is allowed to run that action, it'll appear on the top. Okay, so we created a new button right here called launch, and we gave it some car icon just because what was available there. What we need to do next is add that action to our interface, because right now there is no launch action. Okay, so we're going to go to our interface and we're going to open up the select box common actions, and we're going to just hit the plus here, and we're going to go snap in, cell box, launch character. The way I have this right now is if it's an actor, which means it's a two-step where you click on the actor and then you follow the other actor. So you click on the one you want and then you click on the one you want it to follow or the one you want it to attack. That's 2 steps. That's under the actor category. If you just want to move to a location or patrol a radius, again, you click on the actor you want to do the action and you click on the vector that you want it to patrol in or move to. It's a 2-step action. And these 2 are 1-step actions. You click on the actor, you hit destroy, he explodes. So the launch character is going to launch, then we're going to keep that under 1-step. You can organize this however you want, of course. So what we want under here is under the inputs, we're just going to choose a vector. So this is the launch vector. And then I'm going to add just another customization here. I'm just going to put a bool. I'm going to say do next action, question mark. And the reason for that is just if we launch them in the air, and let's say we want it to explode after 5 seconds, then we have the option to add in another action. And the last thing I'm going to do here is put a delay here, say delay till next action. Because if we kill them after we launch them right away, then you're not going to see the launch happen, so we want to launch them, and then if we want to destroy them afterwards, then we can say yes to this, and then it'll carry on and do the next thing. Okay, and now we want to go to our blueprints, and we want to go to our select box child actor here. Okay, and you can see from this child actor the way this is organized. On the left, these are our single click actions, right? So we have our destroy. And on the right, these are our 2-step actions. So the actor returns, move to an actor, follow an actor, attack. And these are move to location and patrol radius. These are the vector returns. Okay, so all you have to do is just follow the same pattern here whenever you add any new actions. We added a single click action, which was launch player. So if we expand this, we should actually see that here now. Okay, so all we want to do is, again, just follow the exact same pattern here. So we're going to make a custom event. We're going to say launch character. And because we want it to be replicated, we can't just do the interface directly. We could normally, but then it wouldn't be replicated. So we want to actually make this a server event, make it reliable, call the interface that we added for the launch character. So this will be the selected. Let's make that an actor. And over here, we want to actually just call this exact custom event we just made. So we're just going to launch character. Okay, and then what we want to do is just specify the launch vector, velocity, direction, whatever. Here we have our selected actor, use his location. And this probably needs some adjusting, but I'm just going to try to launch him straight up in the air for now. And the selected actor, so the one that we've clicked on. So do we want it to do the next action? We're going to say yes, because we want to see an example of that. We're going to say do it after 2.5 seconds. Okay, and then we can save that, compile it. We've added the enum. We've added the button to our button list. We've added the action to our common actions interface. Now we've added the call to the common action interface. So the last step is just to tell what actors we want to have this event available to actually be able to do it. Now, launch character in the engine is only applicable to characters. It can't launch just regular actors. So I'm just going to create a new character. And it doesn't ship with the standard mannequin, so it's just going to be some floating arms. And a sphere for a giant head. How about that? And this guy needs the selectable actor, so we're going to go to the core, grab the selectable actor, drag it to our character, put it on the mesh. Okay, and last he's going to need the interface. Common actions interface, we'll add that. Okay, so we will event launch character. And all we're going to do is launch the character. We said we wanted to do the next action, so destroy actor. Okay, so now we have the actor set up to be launched if somebody calls this interface action on that actor. That just happens to be BP test character. Let's just throw our character into the level here. Okay, so the only problem now is if we look at this character and we look at the selectable actor, he needs to have a type. And there's no type for him there. So we're just going to add a type real quick. So we go to our enums, under input, and then selectable types. And again, just copy the enum name and go to the data tables. And we're going to go to our selectable types. We're just going to add a new type. And that's right, it's going to be Armored Man. And just choose Armored Man, and you can go through these and just select these how you want. And here's the important part. So the common actions right now, none are going to show up. So we want to choose launch. Okay, and default right click, we're not going to use those. Okay, so now that we've added them, we can go back to our armed man here. And under the selectable actor, we can actually choose armed man. We have our two armed guys here. Now if I hit play, select him, you can see his name comes on the top. He's got a little indicator that says he's selected. And you can see I can select him or the boxes behind them as well at the same time. If I click on him, I get my action, which is launch. Okay, that might have been a little too much launching. So we'll fix that, but the other thing you'll notice is when I click on this, it correctly updates how many units I have selected, but doesn't actually show that unit type here. Okay, and that's because we haven't added a unit type to be selectable here. So if I click on the flakios, when I try to highlight everything, it's not going to select anything but the flakios, and that's the point of having this menu here. You can specify. Okay, so let's fix the launch on that guy and add the slot type. If you open up the slot types here, we can see them all right here. We just want to add a new one. And we'll choose Armed Man. And again, this has to match this. So Armed Man. Okay, so we have Armed Man there now. We'll save that. And we just want to correct our launch amount. So 650 is quite a bit. So let's just try 10. See what happens. Okay, so now you can see right away on our select menu here, our slot types, we have Armed Man. So right now, if I highlight everything, I'm getting the Armed Men plus the 3 boxes in the back. But I can unselect the 3 boxes just by doing that. And you can see I get my common action. They can both be launched. But also if I have nothing selected and I only want to get those 2 guys, I can just click on Armed Men. And I'll get that. So let's see if I can launch this guy. There we go. And he should, there we go, he died. And that's it. That's how you add a new action. It looks a little more complicated than it actually is. Once you start adding them and you get in a rhythm, it's pretty simple to just add new actions. Okay, so what we're going to do now is I'm just going to go through each of the variable types just to explain what they do and how they affect the behavior of the system. So what we're going to go through first is if we look at your player, the one that's going to be doing the selecting, and we go to the selectable child actor, SelectBox child actor that you added. And on the right here we go to the SelectBox defaults. Okay, outline color is pretty self-explanatory. When you create the box, it's just going to show the colors. Okay, so you probably want at least the inside of the box to be transparent so you can see what you're selecting, but that's up to you. The SelectBox menu, this is that menu on the left side, so you can filter down on the selectable types that you want. You don't have to use this. If you make this false, that won't appear at all, and it won't be used at all. And in that case, the player is responsible for clicking on just the actors that they want. If they drag a box around a bunch of different actors, they'll all get selected. Only the actions that are common among those actors will be shown. Okay, and they have no way of manually filtering that out. So that's the gameplay decision that you have to make. So remove selected on type disabled. What this means is when you have specific selectable types enabled, so let's say you have the serial box and the armed guy selected at the same time. So we have the box on and we have the unarmed or the armed guys on, right? We can select them both at the same time. What this option refers to is if I was to deselect the armed guys, should I remove my selection on them? Right now it's set to true, so now I only have the boxes selected. If that's false, it'll still keep my previous selection. Okay, so click follows selected type restrictions. What that means is when there's a selected type enabled, so I only want to select the serial boxes, when I manually click on a single item, those restrictions still applied. So if I manually click on the armed guys, while I only have my select box set to gather these guys, right, should I still be able to select anybody even though my filter is on for this? So it lets you control the behaviors differently from the actual box itself and the clicking. Right now I say you can click anything regardless of what you have enabled on the left here. Show unit icons. So if you want people to be able to manually remove or add on multiple selections, you can see I have 3 Flakios and 2 armed men. I can manually deselect them if you want to show those or not. Macking to selectable, that's pretty self-explanatory, 25, and you can see that is displayed on the top left here. Okay, and even if you have the menu hidden, this is still enforced. Okay, so you can see that there. So hide menu when not in select mode. So right now you can't see the selectables on the left there. If I turn select mode on, they appear. Pretty self-explanatory for that one. Use common actions. So if you aren't using the actions, if you just want the actors to be selectable for whatever reason that you have for that, then you can disable the common actions button along the top. Allow stealing of selected actors. So this is false right now. So what that means is if you're having a multiplayer game, so you have another guy in the game with you here, and I have this guy selected, and then the other person goes and selects, both those guys, will the game allow him to steal that actor from me? If that's true, then we can fight over that actor, so whoever selects it last gets control of it. If it's false, then if I have these 2 actors selected, nobody else can select those actors until I either die, or like my character's destroyed, or I click off them and release them essentially. Okay, so that's already set up and ready to go for you. So auto-populate the selected types menu. Again, this is just the menu on the left. When you have the select mode enabled, it'll automatically generate these buttons based on the enum list. If you don't want to do that and you want to do it yourself, or you only want to add certain ones, then just uncheck that and then you have to manually add those boxes to your UI. And those widgets are in the widgets folder. It specifies the spacing between those menus, or those boxes on the left, those buttons. So if you want the bigger or smaller spacing, you can do that. So it must be visible to the player camera. So what that means is if that's on, then what's going to happen is from the player's camera component, so in this case it's the first person camera, a trace is going to be sent out. If it can't see the item that's behind the box, it won't let you select it. So in this case here, if I try to select these 2 boxes, or the 3 boxes I should say, the other 2 are hidden behind this box. So when I go over there, it's not going to let me select them because I couldn't see them. Okay, so if that was turned off, then I could select everything regardless of what's in front of me. The only issue with that is you need to worry about collisions in that case. Like right here, you can probably see I can't select the armed guys because they're characters, so they have like capsule collisions and that kind of stuff. So you need to adjust the selectable portion of that actor so that it's visible outside of the component, because the component is blocking the trace right now. Right, so you can see the capsule is going to be blocking that trace. So distance limiter is in feet. So right now it's 0, means that I can select, doesn't matter how far I am from those boxes, I can be 300 miles away on the other end of the map somewhere, and if it happens to be behind that box, because technically it is, right? Even though it's that far away, it's technically behind the box, even if the box is tiny. The further away I get, the more I can select in a tiny box. Right, it's still going to be selectable. If I want to limit that, so let's say this is about 50 feet away, I can say you can only select things up to 50 feet. Alright, so now I can select those two guys, but I can't select the boxes behind them. So I'll move a little closer. There you go. Now I can get them. I can only get those two. Okay, so you can specify how far the player needs to, or how close I should say the player needs to be before they're allowed to actually select it. And the last one, this is just part of the parent actor, allow input at start. This is just a delay to prevent people from spamming the inputs when the game starts. So right now it's set to 3, so if I hit play and I try to open the menu, I can't until after 3 seconds pass, and then I can open. Usually there's like a fade in or something like that for your game, so you wouldn't want them hitting buttons before the fade in. And that is all of the settings for the select box customization. Okay, so the next thing we're going to go through is just the customization for the selectable items. So if we go to our data table here and we open up the selectable defaults, most of these are pretty self-explanatory, so I'm going to go through them pretty quickly here. The first one is just obviously the selectable type. So we created an armed man and we created flakios, but you can create whatever you want. Show display name, that's just if you're going to see the text name above the character. The display name will always default to whatever this is. So if this is worker, it'll default to worker, but if you type something into the custom name, it'll take that instead. The selectable indicator, flat square or a sphere. So the flat square generally is that spinny square you see below the actor. The sphere is a little ball you see above the actor. If you choose custom, then you can add your own static mesh here, and that'll be the thing that appears. If you don't choose custom, like a flat square, then you can choose the color of the square, etc. And if it's the square, you can choose how fast it spins. If it's the sphere, it'll still spin, but you won't notice it because it's a sphere. Display name, font size, pretty self-explanatory. So the selected indicator, so where on the actor do you want to see it? So if it's a player, you might want it on the floor. So -90 is usually where the feet is of a humanoid rigged character. But if you have like a giant monster or something like that, you might want it on the top of its head so it's easier to see, or in the middle of its stomach or wherever you want it. So you can just adjust that right there. Adjust the display name as well. So if you want the display name above the head, on the ground. The selectable point. So this is the point where when you highlight it with the box, when will it pick up the actor? So if you put that way above the actor, it's going to be hard for the player to really understand what they're trying to select at that point, because if the selectable point is way above the mesh, they're going to be trying to obviously go for the visual, which is the mesh, and they'll be missing it. So you want to kind of position that usually in the center of your mesh, but you might have a use case where that's different. So when it's selected, this is what's going to show up, that little icon on the left, the compatible actions. So what we see along the top, so we added the armed man here. So we only had one action, which was launch, but you can have as many as you want here. There's just 9 by default or 10 by default, but you can just add as many as you want. And the default right click action for an actor or a vector. Okay, so what this is when single action, so we only have destroy. So when I click this, it's just going to destroy him. But if you have like a vector action, so if I click this and then I click over here and then he'll run there, that's a vector action. So you can assign that to right click, and instead of having to click each one and go boom and then move them, you can right click and he'll run. And you can see that in the demo project that's included with the system. I might be able to quickly do that easily. Is there a nav mesh here? No. Let me add that real quick just to show you what that looks like. I can add a nav mesh. So the AI can move the character around. Okay, and then what I'm going to do just as a shortcut here is I'm just going to edit this guy. And instead of making him the armed man, I'm just going to make him the worker, because the worker already has actions assigned to him. So if we look at the worker, we already have like move to unit and all that. So move to location is our default right click action there. Our test character, just going to add event SI move to location, and all we're going to say is simple move to location, and then just to add just go get controller. Okay, and now when we click on this guy, you see we have move to location. Click on that, that's a left click, and then we left click here, he moves there. See, now if I click again, I lose it because it's a single action. Right, but it's a two-step action, so I click there and then I tell him where I want him to go. Right, and I can do that with both of them at the same time, but not with the boxes behind there. So I don't want the flakios, so let me just adjust the workers on. And now I can move them both. But if you remember here, we chose as the default right-click vector action is move to location. So that means that if I select both of those guys, right now I have them under worker, and I right-click somewhere, they're going to do that default action. And that I can do a million times because that's their default. Okay, and that's what that's for. So any existing action that you already have, you can just assign a quick vector action to it or a quick actor action to it. So an actor would be if I right-clicked on an actor instead of a vector. Okay, and that's it for the selectable settings. Now the action button settings we already went through because we added an action. Okay, that's pretty self-explanatory as well. So these are the buttons along the top and how you want them to look. So if you add a new action, you need to add a button for it, of course. You also need to specify if it's a vector return or an actor return, if it's a two-step action where you click on the actor and then you tell them to move somewhere. And the last type is the selectable types. That's the list along the left side that tells us what actors we have selected, and we've gone through this as well, and it's pretty self-explanatory. Okay, and that's the entire system. So if there are any questions or if you need any help, just find me in Discord and I'll be happy to give you a hand. Otherwise, enjoy the system and let me know any feedback you have or any features that you may want to see. Thank you very much.